Austin Sumrall is joining me now. He's the chef and owner of White Pillars on the coast. And Austin, I know you've only owned the White Pillars for less than 10 years. When I was growing up on the coast and in high school, it was the fancy dancy restaurant I couldn't afford to go to. It was like the restaurant that we would save up to go to for homecoming. And I can't remember. I actually sent a text to the girl I took to the homecoming dance my senior year, which is weird that I would still have her number after all these years. And we couldn't remember if we went to White Pillars or Mary Mahoney's, two of the great restaurants in Biloxi. It's nice to meet you and good to have you on.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on here.
How did you wind up owning White Pillars? I've got to assume that maybe it was damaged, shut down after Katrina.
So it actually closed way before that. The original owners of White Pillars closed it in 1989. So they had it
Oh,
for
wow.
20 years. The story that I was told was that they were, ready to move on from the restaurant business, and nobody wanted to take it over. So they actually just closed down the building and the space. And I don't think it was because it was, not busy. I think that it was, a very popular restaurant back then. When my wife and I took it over, it had been closed for almost 30 years.
Yeah, you're probably, I don't think you're old enough to have been to the original White Pillars then.
Yeah, I was born in 1988, so I had one year that I
I
could
don't
have
need to know
gone,
that.
but no,
I,
I did not go
I,
to the original.
I was talking to a buddy of mine. We had dinner in what must have been '88 with the band White Lion before they played the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. And, the record guys took us to White Pillars for dinner with that band. So it would have been right before they closed.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, from what you know and the heritage of White Pillars, have you changed? Obviously, it's a different menu, but do you have a lot of the memories of the old White Pillars?
So it looks very different. In 2012, the same people still owned the building, and they started renovations on it to try to bring it back to its original glory. And when they did that, they changed the way the outside of the building looked. They went back to the way it looked when it was built as a home in 1905. So it actually looks pretty different than it did when it was a restaurant. They had a big slanted roof that came off of the front of the building, and they actually had most of their dining on what is now our like porch. So now it's on the historical register, that kind of stuff, and it looks more like it did in 1905 than it did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we do obviously have a totally new menu. It was kind of a internal struggle when we were deciding whether or not to even like keep the name of the restaurant, because we knew we wanted to kind of be more on the like forefront of cuisine and keep pushing forward. We didn't want to go backwards and do old dishes. But actually, the original matriarch of the restaurant just passed away a few weeks ago. She was also my neighbor too, and she was a frequenter of this iteration of White Pillars as well. So we had a good relationship with her. She was 93 and a really cool lady. And I've heard so many like great stories of people that had worked for her and the original White Pillars and everything. So we brought back their most famous dish, the eggplant Josephine, kind of as like an homage to her and her legacy with the White Pillars. So that is something that we are doing right now. That's the only dish that we do off of the original menu, though.
You know, there are so many traditional dishes, especially seafood dishes in Mississippi that people have grown up and love. You were, I think, a semifinalist recently in the James Beard Foundation Awards. So you're coming at this with a different flair and maybe some modern takes on those traditional dishes.
Yeah, we do it's called Nouveau Southern cuisine, which doesn't really mean a whole lot, but essentially what
Just
it
making up
is
terms now.
right, yeah, for sure. But it is a technical term, and it means that we take Southern ingredients and we kind of do whatever we want with them. So we have a kind of a lot of different styles of food on our menu. and we kind of pull from the culture that's around us and our experiences. And I kind of tell people that our menu is mostly made up of things that I just like to eat. So hopefully
Right.
that's also stuff that other people like to eat. And yeah, as far as the James Beard stuff goes, still a semifinalist. We find out in April if we move forward. So that's pretty exciting too.
We're talking with Austin Sumrall from White Pillars in Biloxi. We talked about this earlier this week. I've got to ask, and I don't want to put you on the spot. Are you featuring seafood from the coast, from Mississippi sourced catfish and shrimp and oysters?
Yeah, you're not putting me on the spot. We ever since we opened, the only seafood that we've served in this restaurant comes right out of that body of water right over there.
So what are your thoughts on this seafood labeling legislation? Is that going to work to your advantage? Do you want to see more restaurants throughout the state be honest about what they're serving?
Yes. In fact, I'm a part of trying to move that forward. Obviously, it helps us. We've always felt like that it was the correct way to approach food and everything. People should know where their food that they're eating comes from. We like to take that one step farther, and we actually know our farmers and our fishermen, and we actually know who our food comes from, and we have good relationships with them. But the part of that kind of hurts us is one, people kind of lose trust in restaurants when they're called out for lying to their customers, and that's something that we've never done. But it still kind of gives you trickle down effect from just being a restaurant in the same area. But also, you have other restaurants that are not necessarily lying about it, but they're maybe skirting around the truth and insinuating that they use Gulf seafood and then maybe don't. And then the way that hurts is that you're using a cheaper, inferior product, and you're making everybody else that's trying to do it the right way kind of look bad. And from a pricing standpoint and from a quality standpoint, if somebody that's visiting from out of town that goes and thinks they're eating Gulf seafood and maybe isn't, maybe leaves and says, "Oh man, well that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be," And so, I think I'm all for it.
It only makes sense to me. I mean, you're literally across the highway, a mile away from the water itself and from the shrimping boats. It seemed to me like you would want the freshest ingredients, the better ingredients, and even for restaurants in the northern part of the state, it's a few hours drive away. Get the stuff from your home state that's got better seafood, better quality.
Right, and I think that's what you would hope would happen. I think that there will still be people that don't use local stuff, but I think that it should be up to the consumer to be able to choose what they want to put, in their mouth and what they want to pay for. So I think that labeling and just transparency in general is really important. And our joke is that if we were to use any other seafood, it feels like cheating on the Gulf. So from where I'm sitting, I'm about 75 yards from the water. So we feel like that it's very important for us and for like our local economy and everything else. And we're supporting people that are in our community too. And I think that's really important. And we do more than just the seafood too. We try to source as much local produce as we can. The table that I'm sitting at was made in Mississippi. The artwork that's on the wall next to me was, a Mississippi artist. Our plateware is made in Mississippi. We take it, 10 steps farther than anybody else would. And I don't expect everybody to do that, but
Oh, no.
it's something that's important to us.
That's how you can thrive and build a community if local businesses are supporting other local businesses. We're talking with Austin Sumrall. He's the chef and owner at White Pillars in Biloxi. Quickly, how is the restaurant industry in the state these days? I mean, how's business generally speaking? What are you hearing from other restaurateurs?
Well, the restaurant business is always up and down, no matter what. We always like on the coast, at least, Mardi Gras is a big time for us. Everybody has a lull kind of after the holidays, and we're lucky in that we have Mardi Gras stuck in the middle there, that everybody kind of gets back up and going for. And, goes to restaurants and has parties and, eats before events and things like that. And I think that kind of is a boost to the, local restaurants. And then we kind of have a little drop off after that. People giving up things for Lent. Give up fast food. Don't give up local restaurants. I think as we kind of get through that, it's starting to pick back up. And for us, at least on the coast, we're a little weather dependent. So as this weekend,
right.
Obviously not great weather, but we are heading into kind of warmer stuff. And the earlier this week has been beautiful.
Weekend, maybe.
Right,
Austin,
right. Earlier this week was really nice.
Austin Sumrall, White Pillars in Biloxi. I got to try the swordfish schnitzel next time I come down there. It's great to have you on. Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands on SuperTalk, Mississippi.